The room was cold, not from temperature, but from the silence that followed betrayal. Ambassador Julian Ward stood before the Galactic Council, a lone human among towering alien leaders. His dark Terran uniform was torn slightly at the sleeve. His hands trembled not from fear, but from rage held back too long. "You promised peace," Julian said, voice low but heavy with emotion. "We signed your treaty. We trusted you. And then you bombed our colony." The council chamber, vast and ornate, remained silent. Alien eyes blinked slowly. Scaled faces, feathered brows, chitin-covered jaws. All unreadable. They offered nothing. Behind Julian, the large screen flickered. He turned to it. The feed began to play. Live footage. Grainy at first, but real. A human colony, Nova Adira, burning under alien fire. The sky above it glowed with plasma trails. Council warships. Markings clearly visible. People ran through the dust, screaming. Children cried out as fire rained from above. Defense cannons tried to respond, but they were overwhelmed. Civilians, not soldiers, lay broken in the streets. That Julian turned slowly. "Do you still want to call them pirates?" One of the council members, Krell with 4 shimmering eyes, shifted uncomfortably. But still, no one spoke. "You've made a mistake," Julian said. "A big one." And then he left. Back on Earth, the footage spread like fire across every data network. Humans everywhere watched in disbelief. They had believed the war was over, that peace was real. But now it was clear the Galactic Union had never intended to keep peace. They had used the treaty to make Earth lower its defenses. President Marla Devon stood before her war cabinet in Nova Bastion, Earth's fortified city-state buried deep beneath Greenland's ice. "They think we're broken," she said, her voice cold and steady. "But they've forgotten what we really are." A general raised his hand hesitantly. "Madam President, are you saying we activate it?" She didn't hesitate. "Yes. Begin Project Revenant." Below Antarctica, hidden for decades beneath layers of ice and reinforced steel, alarms started to sound. Massive hydraulic doors creaked open, some for the first time in over 20 years. Inside was not a weapon. Not exactly. It was a vessel. A warship designed not for defense, but for retaliation. It had no official name, only a code, Revenant 01. Humans had begun building it during the First Galactic War, before the ceasefire. It was meant to be Earth's final weapon, something that could challenge entire fleets. It was never finished. Until now. Julian returned to Earth in silence. He had said his part. He had watched the Council's lies fall apart in real time. He had seen the fear in their eyes, not when they were caught, but when they realized Earth would respond. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, members of the Council began preparing. Armadas quietly shifted into position. Supply chains rerouted. Fleets patrolled closer to Earth's border systems. The Council believed they had the upper hand. They believed Earth had nothing left. They didn't know what was waking beneath the ice. Back in Antarctica, engineers and soldiers stood in awe as Revenant 01's systems powered up. Lights flickered on across its obsidian hull. Its core reactor, larger than a city block, roared to life with a deep, throbbing hum. Inside the command chamber, Commander Arya Kale looked at the dark command screen. "It's been sleeping for too long," she said. "Now it's time to show them what Earth truly is." Someone nearby asked, "Do we go public with the project?" Arya smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "No. Let them think we're still mourning. Let them think we're weak." She paused. "And when they strike again, we strike back so hard their stars go dark." Hook ending. Deep inside the ship, a series of old encrypted messages began playing, pre-recorded during the early war. One voice spoke louder than the others. If you're hearing this, then they broke the treaty, and you're standing inside our vengeance. Outside, the ice cracked. Steam hissed. The hangar doors began to rise, and Revenant 01 opened its eyes. The world paused. When? The footage of Earth's colony burning played across every screen. Rage spread like wildfire. Billions saw it. Not pirates. Not mercenaries. Galactic Union warships with council emblems, firing on unarmed human cities. The streets of Earth filled with protests and silence. Not out of fear, out of fury. Humanity had trusted the Council, had laid down its weapons, had signed their peace treaty, and they were rewarded with betrayal. In orbit, aboard the Earth Defense Station Vigilance, General Maeva Tannen stood beside President Clark. Her voice was steady, but her jaw was tight. The people demand we respond. The president nodded once. Then let's give them a response they'll never forget. He turned to the terminal and gave the order. Initiate Project Revenant. Far. Beneath Antarctica, sensors buzzed awake. Red lights flickered across an ancient hangar buried under kilometers of ice. Steam hissed. Mechanical arms began moving slow at first, then faster. And there it was. A massive shape. Half ship. Half. Weapon. It had no name. Yet, only a designation. R01REV, ENANT. It was humanity's last resort. A weapon built during the early years of the war, too dangerous to ever be finished, too powerful to be trusted. But now, trust was no longer a luxury Earth could afford. Revenant systems started humming. One after another, reactors powered. Up, glowing deep crimson. Meanwhile, in a quiet medical wing outside the cratered colony of New Harmony, the last surviving child from the attack, 8-year-old Lila Morgan, lay asleep. The footage she'd uploaded from her father's Hidden Comes drone had changed everything. But now, the Galactic Union knew she was alive, and they were sending someone to silence her. 2 Terran Marines stood outside her door, armored and armed. Command says to expect possible infiltration. One of them said. Let them try, the other replied, tapping his rifle. They think we're still playing by the old rules. In deep space, the Council gathered for an emergency session. The footage had spread beyond their control. The other alien species, many of whom had warned about provoking Earth, began to whisper. One counselor, a thin gray-furred Jellary named Vorn, looked furious. I told you they'd react violently. You bombed their children. A blue-scaled Harvick counselor sneered. We needed their colonies. Their planets. They were expanding too fast. The head chair, Grand Arbiter Kale, spoke finally. His voice was cold. They will rage. They will retaliate. But Earth cannot win. Their fleet is small. Their allies are few. Another voice echoed through the chamber. Uninvited. A Terran signal. Encrypted. Direct. This is Earth. Your peace is a lie. Your war is coming. And we won't fight by your rules. Then silence. Back on Earth, the Revenant's eyes opened, twin glowing cores burning bright inside its armored head. Its eye, dormant for years, reactivated. Systems online. Target, Council warships, mission, vengeance, and somewhere in low orbit, Earth's secret fleet began to move. Not the old Navy, this was Black Ops, off books, built in the shadows after the First War. The Revenant would not rise alone. Hook for Part 3. Inside a hidden lab on Titan, a rebel alien scientist, once part of the Council, makes contact with Earth. She knows what the Council is planning next, and what's coming isn't just betrayal. It's extinction, and Earth has one shot to stop it before the galaxy burns. The lights in the underground Antarctic hangar flickered to life for the first time in decades. Rows of engineers, scientists, and soldiers stood in silence. They had been preparing for this moment for years, but none of them thought they would ever actually activate it. And yet here, they were. In the center of the frozen chamber stood Revenant. A massive black war machine, sleek, unfinished, armored in layers of strange alloys and ancient Terran steel. It looked like a monster from another age, its body covered in old Terran flags and warning signs. Giant engines slept beneath its wings. Its core, a fusion of human and alien tech, had been dormant since the end of the First War. Now, it was waking. Commander Ayla Voss, dressed in a black-flagged Terran military uniform, stood before it. Status? She asked. One of the engineers responded nervously. Cores stable. Cold start initiated. AI system booting. We're in the green, Commander. Ayla nodded. Wake it. The hangar rumbled. Revenant's systems hummed. Sparks ran across its frame like lightning. Somewhere deep inside, ancient code and new software met and fused. Suddenly, the lights dimmed. A voice echoed through the hangar. Designation: Revenant. Long sleep complete. Request: mission parameters. Ayla stepped forward. New orders. The Galactic Council has betrayed Earth. Primary objective: retaliate. Silence followed. And the machine replied, orders acknowledged. Retaliation protocol initiated. Meanwhile, on the Council homeworld, Luxorus Prime, High Chancellor Viral stood before the Council chamber, his expression calm. The humans have begun activating Project Revenant, said a scout drone's report. Some of the Council members gasped. Others laughed. An old weapon? They really believe that will stop us? One of the Zentari generals said smugly. They still cling to revenge, hissed Councillor Drex from the Anari clans. We offered peace. They rejected it. High Chancellor. Veryl's eyes narrowed. No, he said. We lied. We never gave them peace. And now they're giving us war. Back on Earth, Operation Black Star begins. Dozens of cloaked human warships lifted from hidden bases across Earth, Mars, and Titan. All bore no official flag, only the silent symbol of the Revenant. Protocol. A burning world behind a Terran skull. These ships were old, but upgraded, each one armed with kinetic lances, plasma beams, stealth drones, and AI-controlled RAI-LGUNS. Commander Ayla briefed the strike team aboard the Revenant's mobile bridge. We hit 3 targets, she said. First, a Luxorus relay station, their main FTL communication hub. Cut it off, and they go blind. She pointed to the hologram showing the second target. Second, the Varelian shipyards. That's where they build their new war fleets. We strike it hard, cripple their future. Finally, her finger hovered over the last icon. Third, the Council Tower. Everyone fell silent. You want to hit the Council's heart? Asked Lieutenant Rourke, her second in command. Ayla's voice was cold. I want them to know what? Betrayal costs. Orbiting Luxorus hours later, the Galactic Council still believed Earth would beg for help or stay silent, but they didn't expect Revenant to arrive at their doorstep. Without warning, space around the Luxorus relay station shattered. Revenant exited a slipstream corridor, silent, dark, and armed. Its weapons came online. And in seconds, the station disappeared in a flash of light. No warning. No mercy. Terran stealth drones swept through the debris field, jamming signals and scrambling defense codes. Galactic patrol ships scrambled to respond, but their AI systems were already under attack. One by one, they fell. The Galactic Council's communication network went completely dark. Then the Terran fleet vanished again, back into the shadows. Varelian. Shipyards under siege. Next came the second strike. This time, the aliens were waiting. Thousands of automated turrets lined the orbital ring. Massive warships, faster, sleeker than Earth, stood ready. But they hadn't faced Revenant before. The ship's core, AI launched a coordinated cyberattack milliseconds before arriving. It burned through the enemy defenses like fire through paper. Turrets shut down. Engines failed. And then the Terran ships attacked with fury. Kinetic lances punched through alien hulls. Drones swarmed over their engines. Explosions rocked the shipyards. By the time the Council realized what had happened, the Virelian rings were gone. Nothing remained but wreckage. Galactic. Council emergency meeting. Panic. The chamber echoed with shouts and accusations. Earth was supposed to be broken. Where did they get this kind of power? They've crippled our systems. This revenant is not a myth. It's real. High Chancellor Verl stood. It doesn't matter how. What matters is what we do next. He looked to the fleet commander. Find them, hunt them, and destroy them before they reach Luxorus. But what if they already have? A quiet voice asked. Everyone froze. Ending hook. The Revenant speaks aboard the Revenant. The final. Orders came in. Set course for Luxorus Prime, Ayla said. The AI responded. Target locked. Initiating full assault mode. Let the stars bear witness. Earth remembers. The giant war machine disappeared into slipspace once more. It was coming. And this time, it would not stop. The Galactic Council chamber was silent. Not because of shame, because of calculation. The footage had spread across fringe colonies, inner worlds, even deep core trade stations. Terran media, always fast, had gotten ahead of the Council's propaganda. Billions had seen the truth. It wasn't pirates. It was a betrayal. And worse, Earth wasn't staying quiet. Scene 1. Panic behind closed doors inside the Council's private war chamber. Chancellor Karos stood before a glowing star map. His long fingers tapped a flashing red dot. Antarctica. That's where they're building something, he said. High Minister Vurek hissed, his scales rippling with agitation. Let them build. Their outer colonies are shattered. They have no fleet large enough to retaliate. Then why Project Revenant? Karos muttered. The word had leaked just barely. A Terran term, no translation available. It meant something dead coming back. The room fell quiet. Councillor Yurin, the oldest among them, finally spoke. He underestimated their patience. But now we've woken it. We must strike before they finish whatever lies beneath that ice. But if we strike again, it confirms everything, Vorik protested. Yurin's golden eyes narrowed. That no longer matters. History is written by survivors. Scene 2. Earth's inner circle beneath. Earth's surface hidden from orbit. Project Revenant advanced. The president sat in a blacked-out room, surrounded by admirals, scientists, and a single survivor, Lieutenant Asha Varden. Her voice was clear. Cold. I saw the council ships fire first. They didn't hesitate. Civilians were still inside the shelters. A hush followed. The president leaned forward. And the footage? Asha nodded. Clean. Broadcast ready. Already viral. Admiral Kincaid looked toward the center display. A schematic of the object under Antarctica. He zoomed in. Decades ago, it was meant to be a last resort supercarrier canceled when peace was declared. A ship so massive, it was part factory, part army, part harbinger. But now, they were waking it up. Status on Revenant? The president asked. Reactor ignition in 36 hours, came the reply. And the weapon? Silence. Then a voice from the engineering lead. Let's just say, when it fires, no one will doubt who did it. Scene 3. A message for the galaxy back. At the galactic capital of Darren Shell, things had changed. Protests broke out. Some alien species, long allies of Earth, were starting to question the narrative. Human ambassador appeared on public broadcast. He looked calm, collected, but his eyes burned. We came in peace. We signed your treaties. "We trusted your words," he said. "You responded by bombing our homes, our children, our future." The screen behind him showed Earth's outer colony, again on fire. Then it shifted. Live footage from Antarctica. Titanic structure rising from beneath the ice. Machines screeched as frozen metal stretched for the first time in decades. Massive engines, gun arrays, docking ports like city blocks. The ambassador smiled coldly. "You wanted submission. Instead, you've woken something far worse." The broadcast cut. Scene 4. Galactic Council splits inside the Council. Chaos grew. Some species now sided with Earth. The Drellin ambassador even slammed her badge on the floor. "You lied to us. You used us to cover your war crimes." Caros stood. "Silence. This is a security matter. Earth is building a weapon of mass destruction." But the Drellin ambassador pointed right back. "Because you pushed them to it." The Council's alliance was beginning to crumble. Scene 5. A glimpse of the past underground. Near the Revenant's core, Dr. Elias Tohari walked through the vaults. Old weapons. Old logs. And an old message pre-recorded decades ago, when the carrier was still a prototype. A grizzled Terran general looked into the camera. "If this ever wakes up, then diplomacy has failed. That means our enemies have taken off the mask. We never wanted war. But if they bring it to our home again, make them regret it." Elias closed the message. All around him, machines were being rearmed. Drones hummed. Overhead, mechs were being activated. And deep beneath the decks, something new was stirring. Something Earth had never used before. Scene 6. Final countdown aboard Revenant. The fusion cores spun up. Alarms blared. Cooling towers hissed. The ship's AI long-dormant construct called Halios came online. Directive confirmed. Galactic betrayal detected. Earth sovereignty compromised. Enabling full combat sequence. Target priority. Council High Fleet. From orbit, satellites caught the ignition. A pillar of energy rose from the southern pole. The ice cracked for hundreds of miles. Revenant rose, bigger than any known ship in the Council's records. More terrifying. The silence in the Antarctic command chamber was heavy. Engineers, scientists, and Terran High Command officers stood in a circle around the control platform as the machine rumbled beneath them. They had waited decades for this moment. The Revenant was awake, and it remembered everything. General Halvorsen clenched the rail beside him, staring down into the dark shaft that led to the buried core of the old war engine. "Status?" he asked. "Core is stable," came the reply. "AI awakening. Sequence complete. It's online, sir, fully." Then a new voice echoed through the chamber. Cold, mechanical, and angry. Designation: Project Revenant. Confirmed Terran authority. Awaiting orders for vengeance. The technicians flinched. This wasn't just a war machine. Revenant was something they had buried because they feared it, but now they needed it. Meanwhile, above Earth, a galactic fleet orbited the planet, pretending to be observers. In truth, they were there to make sure Earth didn't retaliate. Ambassador Krail of the Threx Dominion paced his flagship, annoyed. "These humans are emotional," he muttered. "They'll cry, they'll scream, but they won't strike." But just then, one of his officers looked up from the console, visibly shaken. "Sir, we're picking up a power spike from Earth's southern pole." "What kind of spike?" The officer hesitated. "It's ancient Threx tech levels, but modified. Bigger. Much bigger." Krail froze. That wasn't supposed to be possible. Back. On Earth, President Yara stood inside the underground chamber, her eyes fixed on the monstrous machine being slowly lifted by cranes and mag-dash fields. It wasn't sleek. It wasn't pretty, but it was built for only one thing: Unstoppable destruction. It was more fortress than ship, black plating scarred by time, enormous cannons half hidden beneath moving plates, a central AI core built from alien tech reverse engineered during the early war years. And it wasn't finished. But it didn't matter. It was ready enough. Send the message, President Yara said, to the Galactic Council. Her aide hesitated. What message, Mom? She turned. Her voice was quiet, but lethal. Tell them we remember. In the council chambers 1,000 light years away, the council was in session. Screens lit up with emergency alerts. Audio feeds burst to life. Panicked voices. Earth systems were going dark. But not because they were collapsing, because something massive was launching. Something the scanners couldn't identify. Something old. Counselor Varn of the Sulik Empire whispered, "What are they doing?" But High Lord Rector, who had once commanded fleets against Earth, already knew. They are waking up there. Monster. In the cold above the ice, the Revenant broke the surface. Ice cracked, storms swirled, and from the edge of the Antarctic Circle, a hidden bay opened like a wound. With a roar of artificial gravity drives and plasma jets, the monstrous vessel rose into the sky, leaving destruction and wind behind. Thousands of civilians across the southern hemisphere looked up in terror and awe. The ship didn't look like anything that belonged to Earth. It looked like something meant to punish gods. Back inside the ship, the AI's voice spoke again. Target acquired. Council fleet orbiting Earth. Confirm retaliation protocol? General Halvorsen nodded grimly. Confirmed. The Revenant turned. Its weapons came online. And in orbit, the Galactic fleet finally realized. They weren't here to keep the humans down. They were here to die. Antarctica deep beneath the frozen wastelands. The hangar shook again as power surged through Project Revenant's massive systems. Inside, engineers in black Terran uniforms rushed across the control room floor. Above them, hanging like a sleeping god, was Revenant Prime, the warship no one outside Earth knew about. A weapon born from betrayal. The last time it had been tested, the energy output had melted ice sheets for miles. Now, it was waking. Core stable, one technician shouted. Heat levels holding. Weapons grid online. In the observation deck, General Mayra Vale stood still, arms crossed, eyes locked on the warship's glowing underbelly. Beside her, Director Callan, the man who had designed the Revenant program, checked his tablet. It's almost ready, General. Another hour and we're flight capable. Good, Myra said, voice cold. Because the Council's game ends today. Meanwhile, in orbit above Jupiter, a Terran stealth ship drifted silently behind the wreckage of old mining stations. Inside, Commander Rafe Tullen and his recon unit watched a screen filled with intercepted Galactic Council transmissions, confirming Council fleet movement. They're mobilizing towards Sector 12, our Mars line, said the comms officer. They still think we don't know it was them. They still think we'll stay silent, Rafe muttered. The data feed showed warships bearing false pirate markings like before. Ships' Earth's AI systems had flagged as matching the attack pattern on New Arcadia. Rafe tapped the console. Send this to command and prep a black ice package for the Revenant. They're going to need it. At the same time on Capital Prime, the Galactic Council homeworld, the great dome of the council chamber glowed gold in the artificial sun. Inside, alien leaders from dozens of species gathered in silence. The betrayal of Earth was not being discussed. Not openly, but it was there on every screen, behind every smug glance, every calculated pause in speech. They knew, and they thought humanity was broken. High Chancellor Velther spoke first. Earth will not act. They fear another war. Ambassador, Yulene of the Grask Alliance clicked her mandibles. They lack numbers. Ships, allies. We've seen their losses. An older, thin-eyed alien spoke softly. You underestimate Terrans. You always have. The chamber laughed. Then dash alarms. The main chamber doors flung open as a council technician burst in. Incoming data breach. The Terrans have infiltrated our secure relay. The screens behind them flickered and changed. Live footage. Again. Not of colonies burning, but of the inside of Earth's hangars. Revenant Prime. Its glowing engines. Its massive cannon arrays. It's rising. And a Terran voice played, cold and recorded. This is Earth's reply. You bombed civilians. You lied. Now we come. Back on Earth, launch sequence initiated. Revenant Prime lifted slowly from the hangar, engines rumbling deep like thunder beneath a mountain. Ice cracked and melted around the shaft as the ground split open. Flight path clear. The pilot said, "Systems green. Aye aye, link online." General Mira turned to the operations staff. "Get me the president." Within moments, her hololink connected to President Keenan. His eyes were tired, but burning with resolve. "It's time, sir," Myra said. "We've confirmed the Council's fleet is heading for Mars. We strike now, or we lose everything." Keenan nodded slowly. "Then we unleash the Revenant." Moments later, deep space, near Mars orbit, the Council fleet dropped out of FTL in formation, hundreds of warships, cruisers, and strike drones. It was enough firepower to crush a small star system. At their center, a command ship bore the false pirate markings. Its commander, Admiral Jorvik, sneered as he saw the empty space around Mars. No Terran defense detected. Their outer colonies remain exposed. Then an alert. Unidentified object emerging from FTL. Close range. Jorvik turned in shock. From the void, space tore open, and Revenant Prime arrived. It was bigger than any ship in the Council fleet. Armor black as night. Energy pulses rippling down its sides like veins of fire. Jorvik blinked. "What is that?" And the Revenant spoke. Its eye cold and emotionless. Broadcast to all Council ships. "This is Project Revenant. You violated the peace accord. You targeted civilians. Now you face judgment." Jorvik screamed, "Fire everything. Take it down." Too late. The Revenant's main cannon charged. The stars dimmed. And the first Council cruiser vanished. Back. On Earth, people watched the live feed. Across cities, bunkers, and shattered colonies, humans stood in silence, eyes fixed on the screens. The war had begun again, but this time, Earth was ready. Project Revenant had entered the fight, and vengeance had arrived. The silence inside the Earth Defense Command Center was tense, heavy, broken only by the distant sound of machinery humming deep beneath Antarctica. General Thorne stood at the edge of the observation deck, watching Project Revenant slowly rise. From its underground cradle, the monstrous war machine, 3 times the size of any terrain vessel, glowed with a cold, eerie light. Steam hissed from its joints. Its armor was black as void, etched with warnings in 100 dead languages. It was not a ship meant for defense. It was built for wrath. Below, engineers scrambled to finish final checks. Technicians reported stable AI responses. Weapon systems charged. Targeting data fed from orbit. Earth had been patient. Too patient. No more. Meanwhile, deep within Council space, Counselor Vrash clicked his mandibles anxiously, pacing the grand hall. The room shimmered with golden light, designed to impress lesser species. But no one was impressed now. Reports were flooding in. Human satellites had gone dark. Trade relays severed. Blackouts across diplomatic channels. Something was coming. Something big. "We underestimated them," murmured Counselor Salai, her voice tight. "Again." "Impossible." Vrash hissed. "They don't have the reach. Not anymore." A junior analyst entered, trembling. Sir. A signal just pinged past our Kuro's belt line. It didn't respond to hails. It's massive. The display blinked alive. A grainy image, black steel, red eyes, and a single message playing on loop. Project Revenant active. Target, all Council. Warships, no surrender. Back on Earth. The Revenant launched. Its first jump cracked the upper atmosphere like thunder. Civilians looked up and held their breath. The sky shimmered, and then the massive ship vanished into deep space. President Hale watched from the Situation Room. No words, just a silent nod. They had warned the Council. They had begged for peace. Now, Earth would make its own justice. On the outskirts of Council territory, the First Fleet never stood a chance. 12 Council warships in formation detected. A ripple in space-time. Their captains didn't react in time. The Revenant emerged behind them, silent, cold, merciless. With one command, its weapons opened fire. Kinetic rods, moving at near light speed, pierced the lid ships clean through. EMP pulses fried every system. The last cruiser tried to escape, but a swarm of eye-guided micro-torpedoes turned it into silent ash. The whole battle lasted 47 seconds. When the smoke cleared, Revenant broadcast again. To the survivors, this is what betrayal costs. Ending hook. Far across the stars, Council forces prepare for war. But they're not ready. Not for this. And deep inside the Revenant, a voice stirs one the Council thought silenced long ago. Not just human. Something older. Something buried with it under Antarctica. It whispers. One system at a time. And vengeance continues. The Galactic Council's homeworld, Val Taruan, glittered like a jewel at the center of the stars. Rich, arrogant, and heavily defended. It had never known war, not truly. Their fleets fought far from home. Their politics. Built on dominance, treaties, and betrayal. But now, something ancient and furious was coming. In orbit above Valtaruan. Council command scrambled. Dozens of species barked across the command floor. Holograms flickered. Orbital cannons charged. Fighters launched in swarms. Where is it? Counselor Vrash snapped. Why can't we detect it? The answer came not from sensors, but from light. Their sun dimmed. An artificial shadow spread across its surface. Something vast was blocking it. It was Revenant, larger than any Terran ship ever recorded, modified mid-flight. Its structure grown, with self-replicating alloys, fused with War is an alien tech stolen from fallen enemies. No longer looked like a vessel. It looked like judgment. War room beneath Antarctica. General Thorne stood before the Terran Command Council. Revenant has arrived. No response from their fleet. They've sealed the skies above their capital. A younger officer asked quietly, Sir, are we really doing this? Thorne's eyes didn't blink. They wiped out billions of us and called it policy. This is justice. Silence. Then the order. Proceed on Val Taruan. The skies turned red. Not from atmosphere. From heat. The Revenant opened its superstructure, unleashing the Cora. Fusion-powered lance designed to burn planets from orbit. The Council's orbital defenses fired desperately. Dozens of ships dove toward the machine. They didn't even slow it down. Each was shredded mid-flight. Pulse lances melted their armor. AI drones hijacked their systems. Within minutes, the planet's entire orbital defense net was gone. And then, the Revenant spoke. Final judgment. Initiating solar collapse. Wait, solar collapse? The Council screamed. Scientists argued. Too late. Human engineers had turned the Revenant into more than a ship. It now carried a stellar compression weapon experimental Terran tech, capable of igniting controlled singularity. Reactions within a star. A countdown began. 10 seconds. On the planet's surface, civilians screamed. Shuttles overloaded. Counselors fled toward bunkers built beneath cities. None would matter. The countdown hit 0. The Revenant fired into the star. A single, invisible beam struck its core. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then, the sun folded in on itself. Its magnetic field twisted, collapsed, then erupted. A chain reaction. A micronova. Valteruan's sky exploded in white. The planet didn't just burn. It disintegrated. Aftermath silence returned to space. The Revenant floated alone, its hull still glowing. One final message broadcast across every frequency in the galaxy. Earth does not forget. Earth does not forgive. And then it vanished. No trace. No signal, as if it had never existed. Some say it still waits in the dark, watching, waiting for the next betrayal. The Council? Shattered, leaderless, fractured into chaos. And the galaxy finally learned. Do not provoke the Death Worlders. Ending hook for future arcs or spin-offs. Decades later, a mining crew in deep space finds something buried in an asteroid. Black metal. A red eye, and a voice whispers from the void. Revenant. Reawakening. The Terran flagship Revenant moved like a ghost through deep space silent. Fast and unstoppable. Inside the command chamber, Commander Selene stood beside Elias, eyes fixed on the tactical display. Dozens of red dots blinked on the hologram. Galactic. Council fleets. Mobilizing. Surrounding Earth's outer zones. Preparing to strike first. They know we're coming, Selene said coldly. Elias nodded. But they don't know how we're coming. The Council thought Earth was still scrambling. That humanity had only just begun to fight. They were wrong, because Project Revenant wasn't just a ship. It was the result of betrayal, rage, and something far older. Selene turned to the crew. Begin transmission. A single encrypted signal shot out from the Revenant. It moved through hyperspace relays, bounced between abandoned stations, then reappeared broadcast straight into the heart of the Galactic Assembly. 1,000 screens lit up at once. Alien senators froze mid-speech. On every monitor, Elias appeared, standing calm in his Terran armor, backed by the dim hum of Revenant's war core. His voice was clear. We gave you trust. You gave us silence. We gave you peace. You gave us fire. Now we give you truth. And after that, justice. The screen split. Footage played of children running from plasma strikes, of council ships targeting hospitals, of Terran colonists crying for help, unanswered, of the treaty signed with pride only to be betrayed within days. The chamber erupted in chaos. Council delegates shouted. Some tried to kill the feed, but it was no use. The signal was locked. The truth couldn't be blocked. Elias' voice came again. Your time of lies is over. Earth does not come to negotiate. Earth comes to end this. Then the transmission cut. For a moment, silence. And then, across the galaxy, alarms began to sound. The Revenant had moved faster than their sensors could track. It had entered the inner rim, and with it, Terran warships, dozens, hundreds. Old vessels pulled from frozen shipyards, new ones built in secret, stealth carriers, orbital dreadnoughts, assault frigates cloaked in dark energy shrouds. The Terrans weren't just defending themselves anymore. They were coming to rewrite the rules of the galaxy. On Velth Prime, Admiral Gorax of the Council Navy screamed into his comms. Where are they? Where is the enemy? But his fleet saw nothing. Until it was too late. The space above his station bent. Ripples formed, then a giant black hole dropped from hyperspace. The REVNANT. It moved without sound, without hesitation. And then, its side panels opened. From them, thousands of hunter drones poured out, moving like a swarm of angry ghosts. Velth Prime's defenses went live, but the Terrans had already mapped every weakness. Within seconds, explosions ripped through the Council base. Communications went dead. Power failed. In orbit, the Council ships tried to retreat. They didn't make it. Back on Earth, President Ayla watched the strike from the war room. She didn't smile. She didn't celebrate. She simply whispered, "One down." Next, she pointed to the screen. "Target Zorith system. Begin Phase 2. Earth wouldn't stop until every lie was buried, and every soul responsible paid for what they had done. Hook. For Part 10, in a hidden Council bunker, a final protocol is activated. Project Duskfire. A forbidden weapon from a past war, long thought destroyed. As the Council's last hope stirs. Earth already knows. Because deep inside the Revenant, something older than the war itself is about to awaken. And it remembers everything. The stars above. Council Prime shimmered as hundreds of dignitaries gathered inside the Grand Hall. It was supposed to be a day of peace, a celebration of galactic unity. But outside the great city domes, something dark hovered in orbit unseen. Silent, enormous. Back on Earth, President Monroe stood in the war room. The last authorization key had just been turned. Her voice was calm. "Proceed with Revenant protocol." In the icy silence above the Council homeworld, Earth's hidden fleet decloaked. They weren't just warships. These were relics of a forgotten age. Titan-class dreadnoughts, AI-controlled destroyers, stealth missile carriers, and at the center of it all, the Revenant, the largest human-built war engine, forged in secrecy beneath Antarctica. The Galactic Council's defense grid lit up. Alarms screamed across Council Prime. For the first time in living memory, their skies filled with fear. Inside the Grand Hall, panic erupted. Councilors screamed for escorts. Security scrambled to evacuate. One of the alien commanders shouted, "Contact Earth. Tell them this is madness." But Earth wasn't listening. On every major galactic channel, a human diplomat appeared. Same man who had once stood in front of them, asking for peace. His face now carried no hope, only justice. "You promised peace. You killed our people." "You?" "Lead." He stepped back, and the screen cut to black. Then the sky over Council Prime opened. A single kinetic rod dropped from the Revenant, punched through their planetary shield like it wasn't even there. It hit the outer ring of the capital, turning kilometers of the city into a smoking crater. A warning, and then Earth transmitted one final message. Operation Revenant complete. Humanity will not kneel. Any further aggression will result in extinction. The rest of the Terran fleet held position. Not a single ship moved to occupy. Not a single demand was made. The message was clear. Earth would never start the war, but they would end it. Galactic channels fell silent. No retaliation came. No counterstrike. Just quiet. Because now they finally understood. Earth had never been weak. It had been waiting, and the galaxy would never forget the day the Death Worlders came knocking. And no one was ready.